On this channel, we've talked about a lot of rare pieces of Minecraft history. There's videos on invalid and dupe accounts, blocked or OG usernames, Minecon and special capes, and a lot more. But there's a few accounts that, despite being obvious picks as some of the rarest accounts of all time, I have never talked about. One of one or exclusive capes. Rare capes that are owned by just one of the over 40 million Minecraft players. Just 9 of these have been known to ever exist. The Turtle, Birthday, DB, Star, Prismarine, Snowman, Spade, Bacon, and Japanese Translator Capes. Few are still seen today, and one has even been removed entirely, but their stories are wild. Between $1,000 sales, stolen emails, and the sudden discovery of a secret cape, the history of these exclusive cape accounts is one that I had to talk about. In today's episode of Minecraft Uncovered, we'll be running through the history of the rarest capes of all time. Our tale begins with not only the first special cape ever made, but the first and only to be entirely lost. The Bacon Cape, owned solely by a player known as Miclee. That's a name you might recognize if you watch other Minecraft historians like FitMC or AntVenom, since Miclee's story isn't exactly unknown, but I don't think I've ever heard them tell the full story behind it. All the way back in 2010, Miclee was pretty much single-handedly responsible for pigmen being added to the game, which have since evolved into zombie pigmen and piglins depending on the version of Minecraft you play. He was a huge fan of pigmen before they were ever planned in Minecraft, and when Notch eventually agreed to his idea to add pigmen to the game, a guy named Exophobia designed zombie pigmen instead, which would live in this cool new dimension called the Nether that was about to be added to Minecraft. Notch didn't take much convincing, so on October 30th of 2010, the Halloween update released with the brand new zombie pigman mob roaming the Nether. This update was received very positively, and zombie pigmen ended up sticking around all the way until last year's 1.16 Nether update. As a reward, on January 12th of 2011, Notch gave Miclee his very own Bacon Cape, something that Miclee actually designed himself and showed off on Twitter. But just 11 days later, it disappeared, and it's never been seen since. Unfortunately, it seems that the Minecraft community just wasn't quite ready for capes yet. As soon as Miclee got his cape, players started harassing the Mojang staff team in hopes of getting their own cape. At some point, it just got to be too much, and Notch removed the cape from Miclee in the hopes of calming the fans down. Just a few months later, he would begin giving them out again, but Miclee never got his cape back. If he did, who knows how much it would be worth? 10,000? 20,000? More? With how high prices have become in the last year, I wouldn't be surprised to see an exclusive cape selling for 5 digits. But because of a very unfortunate situation back in the earliest days of the game, the Bacon Cape is something we'll never see again. To this day, Miclee remains capeless, but he seems alright with it. He's become active again in the last year and even launched his own server, Bacon World, earlier this month. Miclee may not have a special cape, but he'll always be special in the hearts of the Minecraft community. Now, with that somber tale behind us, let's move on to the oldest exclusive cape that's still around, the millionth customer Star Cape, which was given to the lucky Akron Man 1. The story behind how the cape was made is simple enough. Jeb noticed that Minecraft was nearing on 1 million sales, and with the help of another Mojang staff member named Kinton, designed a special cape for the millionth Minecraft player. When Akron Man bought the game, he automatically received the cape along with it, as well as a custom email from Notch and the Mojang team thanking him for helping them get to such a huge milestone. A few years after that, Akron Man disappeared from the Minecraft scene, but that's not quite the end of the story. Around the middle of 2017, nearly 5 years later, the account would be stolen. The thief was a Minecraft account trader named Glove, who you may know from his time owning the accounts 8 and G. He managed to steal the account somehow, but we don't actually know how he did it. Shortly afterwards, it was sold to another big account trader known as Dark One, who also owned both 8 and G in the distant past, and he traded it to the owner of the account PC for Elvana, an account with a Cobalt Cape, and Milhoos, an account with a Translator Cape. PC never officially put the Star Cape up for sale, but most people involved in account trading knew that he owned it, and he got tons of offers over the following months. Unfortunately, nothing would come of them since the account was locked later that year. When an account is locked, that basically means it can't be used by anyone. You can't log in, you can't trade it, you can't play on it, it's basically made useless. Accounts are usually only locked if Mojang thinks they've been sold or hacked, both of which were true for Akron Man 1, so it was really only a matter of time before Mojang caught on. So how much is it worth? In terms of design, although I personally like it, the Star Cape is usually just seen as an okay looking cape. Other ones like the Snowman, Prismarine, or Birthday capes are often ranked above it, so design isn't gonna make this one worth all that much. But what it does have going for it is the history behind it. This cape basically symbolizes the success of Minecraft, and it was given out for possibly the most important accomplishment in the game's history. That alone could easily make this one of the most expensive exclusive capes there is, though I do think that at least 2 of them would rank higher, and we'll be talking about those shortly. If I were to take a guess, I think Akron Man 1 could reasonably be worth somewhere around $20,000, making it not just one of the rarest capes, but one of the rarest accounts of all time. Hey, remember how exclusive capes are supposed to look cool? Well, Mojang forgot, and then the DB cape was made. Like, I don't know who made this, but I really hope they are on the design team, because the existence of this cape violates more Geneva Convention laws than most wars. It's horrible. But as despicable as this may be, it is a rare cape, so I am contractually obligated to give you its surprisingly long history. This cape was given out just a few months after the last, awarded to dannyBstyle for making music that Notch liked. That's pretty much it. From what I can tell though, Danny was never super active in Minecraft, so the cape just kinda sat there for a few years. That is, until 2015, when the account was jacked by Glove, just like Akron Man, but instead sold to a guy named Trey who changed the name, and immediately lost the account after somebody let Mojang know and they name changed it back. Nothing else would happen to it for over 5 years, but in March of this year, dannyBstyle made a surprising comeback. Shane and Ethy, both of which are veterans of the Minecraft account community, were going through old locked email accounts they owned and trying to get them reinstated. On the 7th, they managed to actually get one back, and when they opened it for the first time in forever, they found something insane. It turns out, dannyBstyle had moved to that email 8 months ago without anybody realizing, and it sat dormant for nearly a year. The story behind how that even happened is partially private and partially unknown even by them, but what we do know is that it brought the world's ugliest but one of the rarest capes back into circulation. Within just 24 hours, it was sold for $7,000 to Debug, who's been collecting rare accounts like these for a while. He also owns a Debug, a hacked Mojang cape account. As per usual, Debug changed the name to mirror his own, and that's about where our story ends. I can't imagine he still has access to either of the accounts I just mentioned, but there's no signs he's lost them either, so it's anyone's guess. But the pricing isn't something we really have to guess on. Like I said, it sold for $7,000, but that was what's known as a quick sale, basically offering a very cheap price so that you'll sell your account quickly. Along with that, prices have gone up a bit since then, so if I were to guess, dannyBstyle would sell for right around $12,000, making it the cheapest exclusive cape there is and likely ever will be. But what about the most expensive? Well, our next cape on this list may very well hold that title, and it's one with quite possibly the weirdest history, however short it may be, of any on this list. The Snowman cape, owned by the mysterious JulianClark. Let me tell you his story. All the way back in the middle of 2011, there was a peculiar line of text that would sometimes show up as splash text on the Minecraft title screen. Bring me Ray Cokes. Ray Cokes was an English television presenter back in the 90s, hosting MTV Europe's Most Wanted and a few smaller French shows. So even though we in America and many other places may not know who he is, he's a minor celebrity in Europe, which makes the following encounter even more astonishing. Ray Cokes was the godfather of our protagonist JulianClark, so when Julian saw the new splash text, he gave Ray a call and the following picture was born. Ray, cosplaying as the bald guy from Bounce by the Ounce, and Julian, holding him at gunpoint. It's beautiful, it's fine art, and it earned him a brand new, never-before-seen, custom Notch-designed Snowman cape. Why a snowman? According to Notch, because of cocaine. I'm not kidding. JulianClark's cape is a cocaine reference, and I don't think anybody knows that, so I'm here to spread the word. But, of course, the story doesn't end there. A few years back, a live streaming service known as XSplit suffered a database leak. The account information of millions of users was leaked to the public, and it's believed that among those affected was JulianClark himself. Regardless of whether that's the case or not, JulianClark's information was gained through a database leak of some sort, and the information that was found just so happened to include the exact same password he used on Minecraft. And because the account hadn't been touched for many years, it was still unmigrated, meaning that all you needed to gain full access to it was the username, which everyone had, password, which the database leak had, and email, which wasn't too difficult to find. Armed with all of this knowledge, our good friend Dark One, who I mentioned earlier, managed to jack the account and migrate it to his own email, marking the first activity on the account in years. Unfortunately, the account didn't last very long. Shortly after Dark One sold it to PC, just like with Akron Man 1, it was locked by Mojang, presumably because they realized it had been hacked and traded. It remained that way year after year until July of 2020. That was when a player named Fraud pulled the account through the original email that it was on, bringing it back into the community for the latest and quite possibly last time. It was sold to an anonymous buyer after a few days, but was later bought back, just before it was sold as a bundle with NRP123, a quadruple cape scrolls account, for about 2/3 of a Bitcoin. At the time, around $8,000, but today that same amount would be worth $36,000. Unfortunately, that sale was the last time JulianClark would be seen. Just days later, a massive lock wave took place, with tens or even hundreds of accounts touched by Fraud and his friends becoming unusable. This was discussed in an OG alert video by my friend X-in-a-Box, so feel free to check that out if you'd like to see some of the other insane accounts that were locked. I'll leave a link in the description. Because JulianClark was specifically locked during a lock wave, the chances of anyone ever getting the account back, even the original JulianClark himself, are slim. But, locked or not, JulianClark is still considered one of the most valuable capes of all time. Even though it was only sold for a few thousand last year, prices have gone up 3, 4, 5 times as much as they were before. Along with that, it was only sold so cheap because the account wasn't considered secure, for good reason seeing how it got locked after only a few days. But if security wasn't a concern, JulianClark could easily sell for $25,000 or more, making it one of, if not the most valuable cape in Minecraft history. Next up, we have a fairly underwhelming cape, but an exclusive one nonetheless. Of course, I'm talking about the Japanese version of the Translator Cape, which is surprisingly owned by just one person, Cheapshot. There isn't a super crazy story behind this one. Cheapshot, whose real name is James York, helped Mojang translate the game in Tokyo and received this cape as a reward. But unfortunately, James too couldn't hold on to his account forever. On November 10th of 2019, he received this email, a seemingly innocent one sent by Mojang asking him to secure his account, which he quickly agreed to do. But unfortunately, this innocent email was hiding a sinister secret. Mojang.cam. This email wasn't from Mojang. Instead, it was from Maliz, a Polish scam artist that set up Mojang.cam in an attempt to phish the login information of various rare Minecraft accounts, and with Cheapshot, he was successful. James immediately contacted his friends at Mojang to get the account back, and with the help of Mojang's Patrick Gooder and a few nice Twitter users, yeah, I'm surprised too, I didn't know that being nice on Twitter was even possible, he managed to regain access to Cheapshot, and Gooder even officially listed Mojang.cam as a scam site on the official Minecraft help page, at least for a little while. Since that day, Cheapshot has remained secure. If you're curious to hear more about the situation, James actually did an interview with Bisu, a Realms mapmaker, about getting his account back and a lot more. But what about the value of the Cheapshot account? Well, I personally think that besides dannyBstyle's god-awful yellow and blue rectangle that I struggle to call a cape, this is probably the least valuable exclusive cape there is. It's not his fault or anything, it's just the same design as the normal Translator Cape save for the flag on the back, and there's 100 other players that own that one, so it's less exclusive than the other capes while still only being owned by one person. As such, I would expect the account to rank just barely over dannyB's cape at a worth of maybe $13,000. It's no DB cape, but Cheapshot's Japanese Translator Cape is unfortunately far from the craziest one we'll be seeing today. Speaking of crazy, let's move on to one of the wackiest looking capes on the list, the Spade cape owned by MrMessiah. Just look at this thing, what is this color scheme? It's got a green outline, a white and pink rectangle, and a black spade right in the center. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is still easily in my top 5 best cape designs, but it makes zero sense. The cape was given to MrMessiah as a thank you for creating the Better Light mod, which was later used by Mojang to revamp Minecraft's lighting, adding better shading and smooth lighting. The idea of giving MrMessiah a cape as a reward had been discussed since all the way back in 2011 when they first started using it, but for some unknown reason, he never actually received the cape until 2015. Nobody knows who designed it either. MrMessiah thinks it might have been Jeb, but we have no way to know. In fact, most of the history of this account is partially or entirely unknown. Part of that is because it's a more recently discovered cape, but come on, it's been 6 years. We should at least have the basics down by this point, right? Basics like the fact that, contrary to popular belief, MrMessiah has actually been hacked before. All the way back in September of 2016, the account was jacked by a guy named Ew, who used to trade OG accounts back in the earlier days of the market. He used it to log on to Blockmania and link his account to NameMC, but in the process he was spotted by a figure named Drullkus. You might recognize that name, and you'll see why soon enough. But soon after this, MrMessiah got his account back, and it's been secure ever since. The NameMC, on the other hand, is a bit of a different story. If you take a look at it now, you can see that it's still claimed, and it's friended with 3 people: Bike, Andre, and Fraud, who we talked about earlier with JulianClark and the Lockwave. But MrMessiah's account hasn't been hacked since then, so how are these newer traders added by such an old hacked account? Well, it seems that despite offers by Massive Tunes, the owner of NameMC, the profile linked to MrMessiah was never actually deleted. Instead, it remained linked, and was friends with just Tunes himself for years, until around the start of 2021, when Tunes mysteriously disappeared from the friend list and was replaced with Bike, Andre, and Fraud. Players have theorized that the NameMC account might have been hacked by these 3, and a friend told me that Tunes actually sold them access to MrMessiah's NameMC, but as I said, those are just theories. Nobody knows for sure. So how much is the Spade cape worth? Well, it's definitely better than the DB and Japanese Translator capes, so a minimum of maybe $15,000. I would personally say this falls somewhere between the Star Cape and Snowman capes, but I think most people would probably rank it on the same level as the Star Cape, so I don't want to appraise it too highly based on my own opinion. If I were to guess, $20,000 flat is a reasonable price you could expect to pay for MrMessiah, if it were ever to be sold, that is. Until that day, MrMessiah remains one of the most elusive accounts in the game. Next up are the Prismarine and Turtle capes, both of which were given out to normal Minecraft players in the last few years. The Prismarine was given out to Drullkus in September of 2016, and yes, that's the same one that saved MrMessiah's cape. A few months earlier, Drullkus was working on his chisel mod, and because of licenses and the sort, he decided to make his own custom Prismarine texture for it. After a short Twitter exchange, Jeb took notice and gave him his own beautiful new Prismarine cape, which Mojang had just had lying around on Chris Jailbring's account for a while. As for Billy K, he got his cape in February of 2018 for his suggestions on adding turtles and turtle shell armor to the game, similar to how Miclee got his bacon cape for his pigman suggestions. Since then, both accounts have stayed completely secure and there's no account theft or drama to talk about, so let's get straight into the pricing. Personally, I think the Prismarine cape is better than any of the others, but I unfortunately don't make the prices, and I think most people would consider both the Prismarine and Turtle capes to be just good, nothing crazy. And because the Turtle cape is so much more well known than most other exclusive capes as a result of Billy K's activity, that definitely raises the price a bit. From the looks of it, the Prismarine cape could sell for around $20,000, and the Turtle cape for just over that, maybe even breaking $25,000 with the right buyer. Now, if you expected the video to end there, I wouldn't blame you. If you've seen videos like this in the past, that's where they did end, and if I made this video a few months earlier, that's where I would have ended. But there's one more exclusive Minecraft cape, one that nobody was supposed to know about. One that was secretly added to an account nobody knew about, at least not until April 28th of 2021. That was the day that my good friends Lucky Swede, Tanpug, and Caustic found something interesting. See, for many months, this group had been working on what they called the UUID project. Quite simply, their objective was to get the unique user ID of as many Minecraft accounts as possible. Considering there are over 40 million registered Minecraft accounts, this was quite the ambitious goal, but today they have 32.5 million of these IDs and counting, making up about 75% of the entire Minecraft player base. And during their journeys, they stumbled upon something. They had been searching their database for accounts with capes, and one of the results was a Minecraft account by the name of Great Escape. But the thing is, Great Escape didn't show up as any known cape. It wasn't a Minecon cape, a special cape, or any of the exclusive capes we just talked about. It was something entirely new, and when they looked at the texture shown as Great Escape's cape, this is what they found. A brand new, one-of-a-kind cape, aptly named the Birthday Cape. It shows off what appears to be some kind of cake with red and green balloons hanging from it, and a yellow star can be seen on the back. When this was found, the group went crazy. Me and X-in-a-Box, who I mentioned earlier, were quickly invited into a group chat where we discussed the new find and what it could mean. 2 days later, we decided to finally reveal it to the public through a huge screen share call in my Discord server. And as expected, the news spread like wildfire. By the end of the month, it had over 20,000 views on NameMC, and the wider Minecraft community had just started to learn about the incredible new discovery. In a statement from Ined, the man in charge of Minecraft accounts, this cape is supposedly owned by a Mojang staff member that's leading work on the website. But as for why he has it and what it could mean, we don't have much to go off of other than theories, and what seems to be a vague hint from Ined that it's somehow birthday related, which we had pretty much already established. Great Escape not only has one of the most relevant and secret capes on this list, but it's a pretty well designed one too. Because of that, I'm willing to bet that this account could be worth upwards of $20,000 or maybe even $25,000, rivaling JulianClark's Snowman design as the most valuable cape. But if we talk accounts, it's not even a competition. If Ined's telling the truth and this account is owned by a Mojang employee, that means that it probably has more than just the birthday cape. It could have a Mojang cape as well, or better yet the new Mojang Studios cape they unveiled a few months back, both of which could be worth thousands of dollars on their own and even more on multi-cape accounts. And if that's the case, it means Great Escape is not only the owner of the rarest cape, but it places him into the running for the top 10 rarest accounts of all time. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I had a ton of fun making this one. It's also kinda really long, by far my longest Minecraft Uncovered video actually, so sorry about that. But with any luck, I was able to keep it interesting for you. I still haven't talked about a lot of other types of capes like Cobalt capes or Realms capes, and I do have some videos planned for those in the future, but those are going to be quite the undertaking, so don't expect those to be like next week. They'll probably come within the next few months. That's about all I have to say though, so again, I hope you enjoyed, like the video if you did, and subscribe if you want more, and yeah, have a good one. Peace.